How many of you remember Omo Pika Box? Omo Pika Box was Level 1 Productions, which went by a different name at that point. I wouldn't say which one. And they actually perfected studio commercials. And Vix Kingo was huge. Now, for those of you who have no idea around Vix Kingo, and this is where I really need your attention, I can take you through the entire commercial. There's an old man looking troubled with a blue background behind him. And he goes, and someone asks him, and this is a voice that you don't know, and it's a very nasal voice. What's the matter? And he says, oh, I've got sore throat, and my nose is blocked. And then a hand appears with the product. Here, try Vicks Kingo medicated lozenges. They have Kingo medication with menthol and eucalyptus that clear your throat and clear your nose. And then on camera, he popped it into his mouth as he was being given the pitch, and he would do that thing that we were told as kids never to do, to like bite down on the sweet because it'll spoil your teeth. And you could hear him biting down, and he'd breathing and go. And if you don't remember, you can recite it with me. He'd go, they really work. My nose is clear and my throat feels much better. And then he'd take a breath in and put a big smile and say, Asante. And that there, even if they were flying on the low budget black line, they still gave us some really memorable commercials. And I'm really happy to be here conducting a memorable conversation now. And I want to introduce the panel. First of all, Vaj, you guys have really evolved into being in our TV screens and now being on our phone screens as well. So let me get right into the introductions. All right. Our first panelist is an award-winning home and lifestyle content creator with a keen eye for aesthetics and innovation, making him a dynamic force in the industry. From crafting engaging content to transforming business systems, this gentleman continues to inspire and influence audiences. You know him as Victor Peace, but I'll refer to him by his government names. Please put your hands together for Mr. Victor Karanja. As he comes up, our next panelist is a dynamic professional with a knack for blending strategy, storytelling, feel free, and digital innovation. With over 9 years of experience across the telecom, retail, LPG, and fast-moving consumer goods sectors, she has now risen to the marketing manager at Dairyland. She specializes in influence marketing, digital branding, and brand partnerships, championing authentic collaborations that connect brands with audiences in meaningful ways. Please put your hands together for Milan Kabata. There she is. All right. Our next panelist is the founder and CEO of Dot Savvy, Kenya's first digital business agency, leading high-performance digital solutions for over 20 years. He has also had key roles at Opera Ads, DAZN, InMobi, and GG Kenya. He is an award-winning blogger and industry analyst specializing in tech, digital media, and marketing. He is a well-known digital marketing trainer, speaker, and panelist at industry events, and contributes to leading media outlets. Please put your hands together for Mr. Moses Kemibaro. And finally, she is an award-winning photographer, content creator, entrepreneur, and a mother of 3. You probably know her for the last bit most. On her online profile, in the bio, which is more detailed, just a little bit, she says, single mom sharing real mama moments, star emojis, no highlight reel, just real life, because you're doing better than you think. We all know her as Mama Olive K. Please put your hands together for our final panelist, Tatiana Karanja. I would like to know, what is the last bit of online video content that you saw that really moved you and said, oh my goodness, yes, this is a bright future for whatever it is that was being put online?
Somebody on top of a boat or a ship, I gather, and he was on top of the sails, and it was like in the Arctic or something, and it was just it was just really beautiful to see what our world looks like from a different perspective, something I don't see every day. And I think that gave me hope because I'm filled with just like devastating news all the time. So it was just like a way to appreciate where we're living. So yeah, something random.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Tatiana.
So mine is not as sophisticated as Tatiana's. Probably the floating chapatis. Yeah, it's incredible. Like, what is that?
What is that?
Oh my God, El Chapo.
Yeah, no.
Crazy.
I think some people in the room might need a little bit more context to that. Yeah, that's a very high context one, but I understand.
Yeah, so it's guys making fun of the president because he offered some free chapatis in a school, and of course as Kenyans we are extras, so guys went in AI and created all these things, and we are floating on boats, and guys have chapatis as furniture, and it's crazy. Yeah, it's really amazing. Yeah.
A lot of AI content that has chapati as
100%.
its front and center star. Yeah, cool. Go ahead, Moses.
I think for me, the Kendrick Lamar thing which has been trending, but I think the best one I saw was a couple of pastors in a church, and they're really gonna do it. We're gonna do it, and they actually come out of the church and they're doing it. And I think for me that just sort of spoke to the whole idea of virality, but also again, like you said, positive, interesting content. But I didn't imagine that being used in that context. Yeah. And the fact that it is sort of transcended to such a level that it's just become, one of those things almost feels like you almost feel obligated that maybe I should actually do it too. You know what I mean? So for me, probably that one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Moses.
Yo, the pressure. I've just been thinking. I even searched on my phone. I was like, yo. I think the one that resonates right now, I think I just saw it a couple of minutes ago. It was so sad. I just saw a cat flying through a windshield because there was a tornado.
A cat flying through what?
A windshield.
What?
The car's windshield, and then because of it was a tornado. It was a random video. Yeah, it wasn't funny.
And that inspired you and gave you hope for content.
It gave me hope that I'm in the equator. So you don't have those things here.
Right, makes sense. All right, let's hear it for our panelists as we start our conversation. Okay, great. I would love to know a little bit about how you got into this thing, what your origin story is, because I think it'll be necessary for those in the audience to know that we're not just speaking to brand names, we're not speaking to handles, we're speaking to people that actually have gone through a process that has ended, that has had them end up where they are now. We can start with you, Victor.
Dramatic intro. So, it was in 2020, and I'd lost everything. And all the purpose was gone. Cool, the shape shifted. No. It was actually in 2020. I think I'd lost everything and then breakup as well. So I was like in the house and I was like, I've been a photographer for like the past 9 years. So what else? What's next? So I think I just started cooking and then showing people what I'm doing and recipes, and then girls on social media were like, oh my God, a man who can cook. And then men were like, that is not so manly. And then now that controversial contention became an opportunity. I was like, you know what? Actually, I can actually just tap into this thing. So I just started creating content for 1 year because I was working at the same time. So my thing is, even when I was doing photography, someone told me I have to do 10,000 hours to get now the level and the recognition that I needed. So I was like, okay, so I'll just give it like 1 or 2 years and then just push. I don't care about money or anything. I'll just have fun with this thing. And then, ta-da, here we are.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Yeah, please.
All right. So for me, there was no breakup. So my career started when I was, I think, 17 years. I'm a mass communication. I studied mass comm, but when I was in college, I was a bit broke. So I decided to start hustling. So I became those ushers, those promo girls who give you flyers and they're in the bar telling you, take vodka. And you're like, I don't take vodka, but buy. You need the money, yeah? So I was a sales girl for a couple of years, just trying to push through. And then the agency that had employed me at the time was like, people think you're so small. They always ask, do you have an ID? Like, are you even legal to work for us? And I became so popular because I was so small. And luckily, the agency owner was like, come be an intern here. And that's how I got my first agency job when I was 18, 19, when I was still in college. And then I worked in the agency field for a very long time, 8 years, I believe. And then agency was amazing but hectic, we all know. So I decided, let me switch over, and I joined corporate. So Dairyland is my very first corporate gig. So I turned 3 years just a few days ago. Yeah.
I was a photographer. I love my job. I still am, but not many people know me for that. But I became pregnant with my first daughter, and I started talking about my motherhood journey on Instagram. You know how we all have our personal pages, but it just started growing organically. It's not something that I hoped to do. It's not something that I thought I would do ever. And while that page was growing, I was still doing photography, but then COVID hit, and no one was hiring a photographer at this stage. Just like people are trying to salvage their businesses, photography is more of a luxury hire. It's not a necessity. So during that time, because my page had grown quite a bit, and everyone was trying to advertise their things online, a lot of company that dealt with family-friendly companies used to that now started approaching me to promote their products. I remember there was a lot of home deliveries for food, because obviously no one is leaving their house. There was like Cartoon Network, you know, things that were online and you could do from home because now you can't leave your home. So that's when this actually became a job for me. And I guess I really loved what I was doing. I got to be with my family. As I said, as you mentioned from my bio, I'm a single mom of 3, and I've really enjoyed doing content creation because I get to be very present in my kids' lives. So I guess I just ran with it, and I've stuck with it ever since. And it's really easy for me because the things that happen every day with my kids is what I talk about online, and it becomes very relatable for other people. So that's how it started. Yeah.
Okay, I think I have 2 stories. Okay, because I come here as a content creator and I come here as an entrepreneur. So the entrepreneur journey started actually many, many years ago. The time when I used to have hair here and no hair here. And it was actually when I think I just sort of was in transition, university, seeing what's going to happen. And I think if you guys remember, there's some of you in the room, when you used to send CVs those days, you used to print out a CV and you had to find a place to print it. It was a bureau. And then you would put it in an envelope, and then you'd send it to Coca-Cola and all these people, and then you'd wait. And then you'd wait. And then you'd wait. And someday, maybe in the post, you'd get a rejection letter 2 months later. And yeah, you're sort of tarmacking and nothing's happening. So that's what we used to call it, tarmacking. Is tarmacking still a thing? It still exists, yeah? So it's so funny, because I remember I was kind of getting interested in technology, because I'd done stuff in technology, hospitality. I worked in a restaurant, and those are the 2 things I was into. But I'll never forget this moment. I saw the cover of, I think it was Time magazine. It's when the internet was first coming onto the scene, and there's this guy called Mark Andreessen. He's the guy who had created the Netscape browser. And this was a pivotal moment. I mean, this guy was, I think, my age. I think he was like 21 or 22. And he was now worth, after the IPO, $40 million. Those days, $40 million was like insane money. You know, it's not like the way kids today are worth $1 billion, you know, in Silicon Valley. And I don't know what it was. He was sitting on a mock throne. He was barefoot. It was kind of, it looked almost like an insurgent sitting on this throne saying, I'm going to take you out to the internet. And I just looked at it and said, I have to do this. The second thing I think was the content creation piece, where my frustration was reading newspapers. And what I used to feel is that being a technology or digital marketing practitioner was the fact that it felt like the people writing the content was simply taking a press release and cutting and pasting it. You know, Microsoft did this, Safaricom did that, Samsung did this. And it became kind of like a journal, right? I started blogging. I started almost like journaling about what I'm seeing on the ground. This is the time M-Pesa started happening. You know, iHub opened. And I remember I'd be sitting at the front of the iHub writing on my laptop in real time as these things were happening around us. And it was kind of like journaling and sharing information. But what I started noticing is like this hockey stick in my content. Just guys were just reading it. Just reading it. I remember this is kind of like blogging when blogging was blogging, you know, like, and at one point my blog got to the point where it was like one of the top 100 websites in the country. But what was interesting was the day I think I got a call from my office when I was at a client meeting, and my assistant was calling me and saying, Moses, there's somebody calling you from Samsung South Africa who says they need to get you to an event, or rather an ExCo meeting in South Africa, to give a presentation to the board or something. And I was like, what are you talking about? They said they sent you email. So those days, my blog was kind of like a side thing, so I wasn't even checking the email every day because no one was emailing me. And there they were, and there was, you know, this information there, like, you know, could you please confirm you can get on a flight like in 2 days' time and give us your rate card? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what this is about. I'm like, so how much are you going to charge? I was like, I think $2,000. Okay, that sounds fair. And then the next thing, they're booking my flights, they got my passport details. I'm in a flight presenting to the Samsung Africa team about local content in East Africa because I wrote something on my blog that the CEO of Samsung Africa Googled and found by chance and said, you got to get this guy here. And the best thing about Samsung those days, they'll give you a phone, they'll give you some gadgets, and they'll even give you pocket money to do shopping. Because when Kenyans go to South Africa, we go shopping, huh? We have to come back with go. But for me, that was just a pivotal moment that, for me, it's kind of like been a driving philosophy, because nowadays I'm almost like obsessed when it comes to publishing content around technology. And I always tell people, it's not about perfection. It's like, I literally tell people, content is the way, right? If you're going to be a content creator, an influencer or somebody, you have to have almost like, on Friday night, sometimes at midnight, I can't sleep because I'm like, I need to write that content. I need to publish. And it's an obsession. But what I found is the more content I create, the more opportunities I create for myself. And honestly, the ability to share a story, a narrative, a point of view, typically unbiased and authentic, is what engenders people to you. So I just tell people, content is the way. Even if it's just 2 paragraphs a day, just create some content. Don't complain about life. Content is the way.
Hey, yo. All right. Okay. I love it. I love it very much. And I'm really glad that we use this as a preamble into the conversation, because I think people are learning now that when we see the evolved versions of you, the versions that are being presented to us today, it seems like it was a very nice and smooth journey. But most of you ended up here by accident or by misfortune or just by complete, what's that word? Kismet. Just things coming together the way they did. So wonderful. Now that we are right into the conversation, I will, for the sake of this conversation, refer to those on the side of the brand as brand custodians, and those in the side of creating things as the creators. I'm really trying to avoid using the word content right now, because I think it's become such an amorphous thing. I really want to refer to you guys as creators, and by virtue of that, the thing that you're going to be creating is pictures and stories, which we all call content, blog posts, all of that. So my question is, having seen whether we started in the days of Netscape or whether we started in the days of COVID, are we witnessing a certain favorable shift in power or the say between brands? Are we seeing it shift from the side of the brands to the side of the creators? I'll let you go first because you're shaking your head. Go ahead, Tatiana.
I think, honestly, in my experience, it's been maybe 50-50, let's say. Or I think it's generally, there are a lot of brands that I've worked with that let me have creative control and let me have my voice, which ends up being the best content I create. For example, Kate from Ashley Furniture Store. Working with them has been a dream because I get to create content that I genuinely love and enjoy. And you can see the reach. Mark, sorry, we can see the reach on those posts. But then there are certain brands that want me to work with them, and it's not that I don't like their brand, but once we've agreed, and then they start telling me, okay, we need to see the logo here, and you need to place it here, and then you need to, no, I don't like the script you've written, I want you to say this and the other, then it becomes really difficult because it's like, I'm not really, you're paying me to create your ad, why don't you just go and hire a videographer, write a script, and shoot that, because that doesn't, I know my audience best, I know how they engage with me, and I think, so I would say 50-50. There are some brands, but a lot of brands within Kenya want you to do it their way, and I think for me that doesn't work, at least in my experience.
And I feel like I'll echo the same thing, So, I feel like there's a great push and pull right now, especially. And I think last year is the first time I experienced it, because the year before I never had any content corrections or like people saying, don't do this, don't do that, whatever. But I know a lot of organizations and brands are very conservative, and that's what I've noticed, especially in the Kenyan market. And personally, my brand and the kind of content I create is a bit
edgy.
It's not risky, it's just crazy-ish. Like it's not risky, it's not messy, but it's, So I think that's the push and pull now I saw last year, towards the end, like from July, because I was doing an analysis, and I noticed that, like I didn't realize people actually are very conservative in that way, and some things I'd post, like I'd give out for, for approval, and then they refuse it. Then I remove the brand, then I post it myself, and then it does so well, then the brand comes back and they're like, oh my God, it did so well. And I'm like, so So yeah, there's a great push and pull there. I think there's a lot of power now influencers have, especially now knowing that you have the audience. And I know my people, I talk to them every day, literally. And the brand will wake up one day and be like, we want to talk to those people, but do this. But I'm like, you don't know them. Those are my family. Like, I've been with them through the trenches. So believe me and trust me when I say this is what they want to do. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think I want to chime in.
Yeah.
From a brand perspective, I also agree with them. There's a 50-50, and I think here it's about the knowledge of what digital and content can do. So there's a lot of people seated in management that have no clue what is going on. Yeah. So even as a marketer on the other side, and thank God I have agency experience and then skipped over to this other side, so I have a lot of empathy and understanding. There's a lot of push and pull in boardrooms where it's like, as a marketing manager, I'd want to give you creative freedom. But then there's somebody probably ahead of commercial who's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, this does not make sense. I want them to say line by line, Scotch Brite, sorry to say a brand, and this, that, and creativity is lost. And when you're working in a background of people with no background in marketing or creativity, that becomes the biggest push. So sometimes a marketing department will fight so hard internally, but externally we have a red line that we can't cross because it's like, we want this to be the message. And I think the misconception is that most brands have looked to content creators as conversion points, which is a very big mistake. Because every single boardroom you go to, how much did we sell? It's like, I am not here to sell. I'm here to communicate a certain message. So there's a bit of push and pull. Again, it's improving over time, especially if you get the right individuals in the right rooms. But I think it's still a 50-50 for sure.
Thank you very much. I'm just writing a few notes as you speak. Do you have a view on that, Moses?
I think there's definitely, I think there's a shift. There's a shift of power. And I see it maybe on two dimensions, especially when I think about the influencer side and maybe speaking from my experience. I think we're getting to the point where, especially where influencers are concerned, I think there's a certain sort of discernment starting to happen from the brand side, which is they're starting to realize they're influencers who are basically mercenaries. Yeah, these guys are hired guns. They're available for the dollar, and they have no care for the brand. They're not there to create, really meaningful content. It's literally a transaction, right? There's no buy-in to the brand. It's a transaction. And then we find also that on the influencer side, and I'm talking again for myself, I don't know whether this cascades across to the rest, but when I look at some of the billings that we are doing nowadays versus, let's say, even a year ago, it's scary. Meaning, it's as if brands have finally understood that the influencer or the content creator or the key opinion leader is so vital and important to a campaign that you're now sort of throwing in numbers with a lot of zeros and no one is flinching. Yeah, they don't even come back and negotiate, which is scary.
And this is in terms of the quotes that
the billings, the ones that you're sending as they say, look, this is the brief.
Yeah.
You come back with a quote or proposal, and it's not like you're doing a Hail Mary. You're kind of looking at it and saying, I think my work is going to be worth this amount.
Right.
And these are the deliverables. And they come back, okay, seems okay.
Right.
Yeah, so how do we pay you? And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like there's a shift in power, meaning that influencers are now actually commanding what I call almost media-like rate cards. Yeah, we're actually able to throw numbers, and there's a realization to that. Another thing that I'm seeing that is really weird is it's no longer about purely the number of followers you have.
Right.
It's about the influence you wield around the following.
Right.
And that sort of, sorry?
Community, what he said.
And that is weird because all along it's been like, so how many followers do you have when they call you for a brief? And now it's like, no, we respect you for what you are and where you are and who you speak to, and we think you have value for this reason.
Right.
So someone like me who maybe collectively has 100,000 across the platforms may get the same billing as somebody with 1 million, but they are mass market, whereas I'm speaking to a niche, you know? And the best one was the other day we got a brief for an engagement I'm currently involved in. And I think the first slide was me and a few other people in my tech space. And they literally labeled the different categorizations. Like, this is content creator, this is blah, 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 YouTuber, these are TikTokers. Do you know what they put for me and my guys?
What?
They called us detractors on the brief.
Detractors.
Meaning, now this is profound, because what it's basically saying is the brand is now saying, we know sometimes you hate on us. We know that you speak truth. But now we're saying we want you on board. And I suspect what they're saying is that you're not necessarily going to say great things, but at least you're going to write about us. And that means they don't mind the negative sentiment or authentic truth in your content. And they literally labeled us as detractors, because we're the few people who say, if this thing is bad, we say it's bad. We're not here to, to placate you. We're not there to make you feel good about yourself when the product is bad. And because I've always had that approach where you speak truth and you're not too worried about missing out on the next influencer engagement because you spoke truth.
Yeah.
But what you notice is the same content you write that speaks truth gets incredible engagement.
Right.
And people are like, thank you for telling us the truth. Or now I know what I didn't know. So it's profound because brands, I think, are now starting to sort of ask themselves the question, is it always just about the followers or the guy who speaks the right way? Or is it also seeking people who can speak authentically about what's actually working or not, and literally paying you for that? Now that is different.
Right. I don't know if you have any extra thoughts based on what he said. Yeah.
Maybe
Any
something
reactions?
to add to that, and I think maybe it will come up as we continue. In terms of from a brand perspective, when you ask the question whether there's a power shift, there is definitely one, but I think also within the other side of the landscape, which is influencers and content creation, there's another earthquake happening there. Because I think when we started out content creation and influencing, there was an assumption that followership and popularity was what was running the show, right? How big are you? Are you a celebrity? It was, if you're an influencer, you're a celebrity. But now things have shifted. You could be a nobody in Kisii, smack in the middle of Kisii, and virality does not choose. So anyone can be a content creator. So now there's also a lost card from their side, because we no longer have the power play of, I'm the biggest because I have 2.3 million followers. I can get a group of 30 micros to do what you're able to do. And I think those are some of the fights we are having in the boardroom. It's like what Mark said, I don't know this guy, but then in the room it's like he's speaking to a certain niche of people, and that's who we need. Like Kikuyu TikTok, for example. It's like my bosses will not understand ethically what ethnicity is and how important it is to speak in vernacular, but then if you get them, they give you so much value, and they're just like a nobody, so quote unquote, but then the value they bring. So there's also an earthquake on that other side where negotiations have to be done in a very tailored way now, because we are no longer talking about we have 4 million and I'm popular. I don't need popular, I need talkability and I need impact within my community. Yeah.
I don't need popular, I need talkability. Hey, are we hearing these gems being dropped, man? Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever little revolution would begin from this room, I hope that we're taking the gems from the speakers that you've heard and not falling into the same mistakes that we have before. I didn't know if you guys had anything to add on to what has been said, even if it's from a real life example, but I think you've kind of alluded to it in your own personal journeys. Okay, so that being said, I have to acknowledge the fact that we creators are not they're not creating within a vacuum. They're not even posting within a vacuum. As has been said from the previous presentations that we saw, you're going to be very likely one of many, but there is this thing called the algorithm that now determines a lot of who is going to see your content and when and how and why. This algorithm, which in pop culture has now been relegated to the stranger, this machine that is in the darkest room, in the farthest corner, in the highest floor, just hidden, and it has full control. I can't personalize, I can't put a face or make a human of the algorithm because it's just this mysterious thing. I would love to know, if the algorithm was an ocean, how you have been surfing it and still ending up on shore safely.
I'm personally tired of the algorithm and this story. I don't understand it. It's constantly changing, and I'm tired of trying to understand what the algorithm is. Every day, it's like, today Reels is popular. Tomorrow it's carousel post. The next day, hooks are the most important thing. Like, I'm so tired. I think the one thing that I realized that works for me is just do the content that, there's content that I speak to that I can see does the best, whether or not in a certain period of time, a certain way of doing content does best. So as long as I stay to that, true to myself, true to the content I'm making, the same kind of messaging that I know does well with the audience that I've built, that content will do well regardless of what the algorithm is telling me this week is popular.
I like that. And just to be sure, the thing that you have found is the algorithm beta is just being true.
Being true to myself.
Staying
yeah.
true to what you care about and what you know your audience cares about as well.
Exactly. So I try to stay consistent with my messaging, which is obviously around motherhood. I do I venture out, try and do new things. Okay, this week reels are popular. Let me try and create some reels. Okay, that didn't do well. That's fine. I'll always center back to what I know does well and what, as you said, I try to stay true to myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful.
I think for me, I think the biggest thing that I've seen is that getting out of your own way. I think that has been a big lesson for me because initially when I started out, like there's a way you want your content to look like. And I've seen this a lot with like the older creators, like from back in the day. Like you wanted everything to be very curated. This picture has to match the next. Then this one has to look like this. All the colors have to, like there's a way you predetermine in your mind that this is how my social media is supposed to look like. But then you letting go of that and letting it have its own life. I think there's a huge value in that in terms of the algorithm. So what I do personally is just experiment a lot. So I have seasons. So like for example, when I started doing content creation, I started by cleaning and cooking and doing ASMR videos. And those ones are really working out at that time. So the next thing was like, how flexible are you when things change? So then now I started experimenting. So when I was doing those things, I started doing now funny videos ish. So I started putting one and then doing more of cleaning and whatever, but then have one of that. And then I saw now it's picking up. Then now I'm like, oh, so people don't care more about the cleaning and everything because they've seen so many men around the world now cleaning and cooking. So it's not a new thing. So how about now we pivot and move the cleaning and cooking, whatever those things, stories to stories. And then on the reels now focus on what is really working. And then now that's when I now tapped into, I'm like, I've done marketing and digital for the longest time. And then I was like, okay, so now how about I take an ad approach with comedy? And then now just experimenting with that. And then now in the midst of it was like, let me introduce dancing. I know I'm not a dancer, but I led the youth church group dance team. Yeah, but I was like, yeah, let me try this dance thing. I danced. Then let me try this other thing. So it's just constantly experimenting and then picking whatever works. And then at a later time, when this other thing ends, like put that in. And then also, so the algorithm will slap you, especially when you have a client. That's when it chooses to embarrass you. Yeah.
Right.
So you find like I'll find like one video will have like 4 point something million views, and then the client video also now when I drop it, it doesn't perform. I'm like 30K. Yeah. So there's that as well. So you need to also expect that. And then what else do I want to say about the algorithm? I think just understanding when to post and your cadence. I know I've seen a lot of creators who post every day, like they'll do reels every day and like content every day, and I'd get a lot of pressure before. But then I noticed when I do that, they don't perform when I do it consecutively back to back. So for me, my method is one reel, then 2 posts, like 2 days with pictures, and then a reel. So that way that if I space it out like that, it's going to really perform. And that gives me like a leeway of doing like about 10 commercial videos in a month, which I'm fine with. So I think it's just understanding how your algorithm works for you and then just deploying. Yeah.
Got it. So you said 10 commercial videos per month.
Yeah.
That's an average of one every 3 days.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that again, speaking from the point of view of I'm not doing what y'all are doing. Everything is relative. You're talking about 50,000 views being a bad day.
Yeah, once you get a video at like 10 a.m., everything else now is like, what are we doing here?
Right.
And that's one of the biggest problems about social media, though.
Exactly.
Like you get one big number.
Because you've tasted.
Yeah. And then now you think you're bad, but you're not.
High standards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and is it a high standard thing or is it a crack thing? Like a crack cocaine thing? I'll explain. I'll explain. Everyone talks about the first hit being the best one. What I've had. Everyone, and what you can apply this to anything that that we'd term a drug by today's standards. That first hit is everything, and you can never really match up to that. But now here we're talking about a hit that doesn't really come down to you, and you might have your 1 million views or this number of likes and this amount of engagement, and then not really manage to reach those numbers as well. How do you let the numbers not become your master?
No, actually, I'll just quote one of the most prolific poets of our time, Drake. Okay, like, yeah, I know, like, you'll hate on him, whatever, but for me, like, he's like a mentor, so, like a digital mentor, because I'm like, he was able to do all these numbers for over 12 years. So for me, it creates an understanding that it's not impossible to achieve. So, and I remember when I got the first, like, I think it was like that, I think 10 or now 9 point something million in a video. In my head, I was like, wow, this will never happen again.
Right.
Then I just forgot about it and then continued doing whatever I was doing again.
Right.
And then another one hit, and another one hit. And then last year I had like a couple of hits. So I was like, so it's actually doable. So just keep doing whatever you're doing. Like, I don't need to focus on the numbers, of course.
Right.
But as long as I'm enjoying the content, it's always the dumbest content that I did not put any thought to it. Like, I just woke up, I started opening my button and imitating how girls open their jeans. And it blew up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, like millions of views. So I think it's just cultivating that without the necessarily putting pressure on the next kill. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
There's something I want to say. I think that the thing you said about don't get in your way, but I would call it almost like do the content for you first and then for them. Like, if it gives you joy to create that content and it satisfies you, do it. Playing the algorithm, I notice, is one of the weirdest things, because for the longest time, I mean, you do not understand how frustrating it can be that you have 35,000 guys on Twitter. You've taken this beautifully written thing, you post it there and only one guy clicks like. And you're like, what the hell? And then the next day, like happened, I think, when I went to Naivasha for the holidays, I was coming back from the Longonot side. We decided to drive to where that satellite thing is, the Earth station. Took a few random photos, posted something online. I remember sitting, where was I? I was literally on the couch and I did it like in 10 minutes. The thing got like 100,000. And you're like, what the hell? I don't even know how this thing works. But what I've tried to do is, I call it atomization. What does that mean? It means one of the ways to play the algorithm is, first of all, don't predicate everything on one platform. Okay, so I know some people are like, me, Insta, and that's it. They don't do anything else. So some of my friends are like, LinkedIn is everything. I don't touch anything else. So what I do is I take content and I will publish it everywhere. Meaning, you will see it on Twitter, you will see it on Insta, you will see it on TikTok. You know, I'll put it everywhere. If it's a blogging, I have a blog that's run for 17 years, which now gets the least traffic compared to what I get on my Medium blog, my Substack, and my LinkedIn blog. Now, LinkedIn is mad. I don't know what's going on with that algorithm, because I have a newsletter there that just the other day spiked to 15,000 followers. Now we're at almost 18,000. I'm adding 500 a week without any paid media. I'm not asking guys to join me, they're just coming. I have no idea what it is, but I was even telling my friend that I think I've cracked LinkedIn. And the funny thing is, the same content, the same visual design, you put it on Substack, you put it on your blog, you get something like 10 views, and you're like, what the hell, right? And you have the newsletters for all of them. So the atomization for me is kind of like, I think in investments, they call it like a diversification strategy. You want to make sure that this content can live anywhere, because you don't know how it's going to perform anywhere. But if you just sort of restrict yourself to one place and one platform, you're at the mercy of that platform. The other thing I want to say, which is really weird, because I create content on the blogging, I do audio podcast, I do video podcasting on YouTube, and then I do the little snippets and all this stuff. People underestimate the effort of content, by the way. If anybody ever says, you know, my son can do what you do, I always look at them and say, you have no idea what you're talking about, because you can spend 5 hours just creating this one thing, and the world doesn't appreciate the effort. But anyway, the long and short of it is, I want to say something about when also you do this diversification of content and so forth. What I found is interesting is that I meet people, and then I'll ask them, so, oh, it's you, Moses. Okay, yeah. How do you know me? I know you from LinkedIn. That's where the majority of engagement comes from. And then somebody will say, I follow your videos on YouTube. You're like, oh, so you're like a podcast video guy. And then there's somebody who says, oh, I listen to your audio podcast every day when I go to work. Oh, so you listen to me. So what happens there is that if you start off with video, go to audio, and then every podcast I create will have a text or blog summary of what the podcast did. Then there are the readers, who are like my oldest people. You have different audiences in different spheres for different reasons. And you find that, oh my God, so I have this massive amount of people, but the bloggers don't know that I podcast. The podcasters don't know that I've been blogging. The Instagram guys don't know I have a YouTube. And it just means that you just need to make sure that, like a diversification strategy for investments, put this stuff everywhere. And more importantly, get out of the way, create anything and everything for you first. Yeah.
Thank you, Moses.
Can I just add to that? I think also one way of looking at it is impact, because I think impact is, for me at least, if not more important than the engagement I get. So there are times where things are blowing up. It's fantastic. It's nice to see. But more importantly for me is the impact that I'm creating in people's lives. And I think, being able to go out into the world, the real life, and, off my screen, and somebody's like, that post you made on motherhood, something has really helped me with my daughter XYZ. Or, I really relate to the story that you've been sharing, and I'm really grateful that you shared that because that really helped me feel less alone, or whatever that might be. That to me is way more important than the likes I'm getting on a post. And I think that also makes me put things into perspective. Okay, I might not be killing it on this post, but genuinely in people's lives, I am making an impact, and that's super important.
I like it. Yes, thank you. All right, go ahead, Milan. I had a question for you, but please speak first, and then I'll ask you. Yeah.
So I just wanted to add to what Tatiana said. So I think the best and the long-serving influencers that we will test will be here beyond the test of time, will be the ones that have an actual talent or skill that they weave brands into, rather than just lifestyle content. I don't think has a life, to be honest. It's an unpopular opinion, but I feel like the best creators that will always live through the test of time are the ones that have an actual niche and an actual interest that they're very passionate about. And when brands come on board, that's what they're piggy banking on. They're not piggy banking on you as a person or what you like today and don't like tomorrow. Like Tatiana, for example, most people know her for being a mom. Like, she could be a photographer. Today she said I said, yeah, she's a photographer. She's a mom first, right? He makes the quirkiest videos, and that's what he's known for, and his interest is just self, right? And I kind of feel like the likes of, let me mention someone like Wix Agunta, for example, she would do art and artistry even without a brand on board.
That's right.
Right? And that's what the industry should be focusing on. So that as an influencer, you're also focusing on yourself first and doing what you said. Do it for yourself first. That's what matters, and that's what brands use as a measuring tape. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Comes through to the audience. Yeah, they feel that. They feel the passion and the effort and the sort of the rigor of what you do for yourself with the content. And that's what resonates with people emotionally. Yeah.
I love it. I love that. I have this list of questions here, but we're answering them as we go along. So it's wonderful.
Like
I think we've answered so many questions. What you?
So you look like a therapist.
Yeah.
We're just talking like.
Tell me more about opening flies. Did you open many flies when you were a child? What fascinates you about girls and moving? No, I'm kidding. So Milan. Having been on both sides now, you've been on the agency side, you are now on the client side. That's how we used to refer to it in agency, and we always said that when someone left client service on the agency side and went to the client side, they became Satan.
True story.
Yeah, Satan, because they're like, you cannot lie to me, I know how long it takes, and this is how long I'm giving you. But I'm getting the impression that you chose to forsake Satan and you chose Jesus. I just want to know, I would really love to know the insights that you picked up from both sides seem to really be empowering the brand that you are now a custodian of, and empowering the people that work with that brand. I would love to know how you chose the light. And what choosing the light has actually led to. You understand the metaphor, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I actually have my account manager from my agency here, and she deals with a lot. Sometimes when something has come in, Victor has shared a video and we are like, this we don't like and whatnot, and I go off on her. I quickly call myself. I'm like, who have you become, Milan? Who have you become? You've become the client, and I try to draw a balance. The only bad thing, as you've said, is that I know too much from the other side. Yeah. So when it comes to pricing, when it comes to negotiations, you can't lie to me, because I'm like, dude, I know this content creator, I can call them personally, and that gives them a lot of trouble, right? But then I think what I've taken from the agency side as a positive learning is just that appreciation of art. Because in the corporate space that lacks. There's a lot of paper pushing in corporate, there's no appreciation of what it takes to create a body of work. And now because I've been in the other side, I draw an appreciation of when he sends a video and nobody understands it. I'm like, this is funny. Guys are like, no, it's not. I'm like, it is the funniest thing I've seen today, right? So there's a lightness that I've carried from the agency side to be able to hold space for creators, as well as campaign strategies, even borrowing from what you've seen we've done this couple of weeks ethics of having an ice cream on a mkokoteni, and I was telling Shiro that I don't even show my directors these videos before they go up, right? Because there's going to be like, ice cream on a mkokoteni?
Yeah.
Hell no, we're not doing that. It's
Yeah.
unhygienic, it's this, it's that. So I carry my creative side from the agency side, and I now, because I'm a decision maker on this other side, I'm able to hold more grace even as I'm approving stuff, because I think one of the things that corporates have continuously, and this is something that happens in marketing groups, we discuss it all the time, marketing is lacking the edge that we had before, the vigor and the audacity that marketers had before. So I'm carrying that from agency, and I'm saying I want us to be different from the corporate side, to just hold a different view and to see things from a different lens. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Don't you think it's coming back to this idea that what is a brand? Yeah, and the personality of the brand, and what can it do and not do? Because the whole idea is that, it almost reminds me of the way sometimes a corporate will post a memo on social media as is, as opposed to laying it out in a certain way. The idea that it lacks personality, it lacks soul, so to speak. And the idea that you realize is that you need to respect the creativity, because that's what cuts through the noise. That's what resonates with people, right?
Yeah, and I kind of feel like now more than ever, even top management is being coerced to be relatable. Like right now, for example, I go for board meetings, and I'm so excited that the whole of last year we had 60 million impressions. And my bosses are like, did we sell to 60 million people?
Oh, no.
Like, oh my God, guys. And every meeting I have had to explain what an impression is, and I don't get tired. That's the whole thing, right? Because it's our responsibility to educate and to call people to the floor to understand and to say, I want you to go on Instagram and see how this video does. So like, for example, for us, when I joined Dairyland, one of my objectives was to humanize the brand, because I realized there was no faces, there were no experiences, there were no voices. It was just ice cream, and there was no personality to it, right? But then now, when we do a video, I literally send it to all the directors, and I'm like, don't blue tick me, give me a comment. And they're like, it's nice, just nice. And now they know to go to Instagram and to look at it, because I feel like we are all individual ambassadors to push this agenda of just knowing better of what social media is doing for our brands, because for a long time, commercializing our brand has been the essence of everything. But then social media is coming and pushing and saying, you might put billions into this business, but so long as the people at home don't relate to this brand, we do not care about it at all. Yeah.
Okay. I'm getting a sense that we're busy people. So this is I want to know this for myself and also for the people here, just how much of the work that you're doing goes into your ordinary life and still allows you to be a human being on the side. I would love to know how it is that you're getting a balance between your life as a human being and your life as the brands that you've become, right? And what tips that you might have to actually have people not become the machine that they are now serving. You understand? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I have really struggled with that. As you said, it's really hard to put down your phone. There's instances you go through and you're like, this would be really cool to share, because like people on my platform would love this. But I've had to learn that my phone doesn't follow me everywhere, especially as a mom. The point where I actually realized, okay, this is too much, is when Olive, my eldest, is like, Mom, you're always on your phone. You're not spending time with us. I was like, okay, this is a problem. This is a real problem. The thing is, though, because on my page, I'm very, there are some content creators who are like, we're doing fashion. So they'll set up everything. They've done it. They've shot it. They've edited. That's where it stays. But I show my real life as a mom. So there are things I'm like cooking with my daughter. I'm like, okay, let me put the phone on because this will be really great content. I've had to really learn that there are moments that are personal, that are private, that stay at home. And even if it's nothing, like it's not a private, delicate moment, it's just, I'm with my family now. As much as this might be really great online, people might really resonate with this, it might get a lot of likes and engagement, this is my time with my kids, I have to put my phone away. On holiday, it's really hard when you're with your kids and you're like, I want to show the world everything, this hotel is so amazing, look at what I'm doing, I'm drinking a pina colada by the pool. Yeah, it's fun to share that content, but again, you have to live your life for yourself as well. Not everything has to go be documented. So I've had to set real rules for myself, for my mental well-being and also for the well-being of my children, to be able to, when my phone is away, it's away. No matter how cool it is, whatever it is I'm doing, that's too bad. I have to live my life for myself and my children. So I think the only thing that I've been able to do is just set that time. When I get home past 5 o'clock, phone is away. I'm not filming anything. When I wake up and I'm doing breakfast with the kids, whatever, no matter if this is really great content, phone is away. Just set yourself those rules and then follow them. You have to the hardest part is sticking to those rules you've set.
Yeah.
I think.
And
it's as
I
simple
believe
as
it's
that.
been a work in progress, and you're
It's
getting
a
better
work
at
in
it.
progress, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, because again, we're constantly thinking we have to engage people, we have to keep our brand alive. This is the only way I'm going to get, I don't know, Dairyland on board. If they don't see me this week, I've disappeared. Again, the algorithm I'm going to be lost in the algorithm. My content is going to go down. So you're constantly thinking, I have to post. I mean, I've given birth in hospital, and I'm thinking, here I am. Like every pregnancy, I'm there on my phone. I shot an ad for La Roche-Posay 2 days after I've given birth. Actually, my baby's using the soap. You know what I mean? Like it's hectic. But the bad thing is you don't know when clients are coming in. So the fear of losing traction, the fear of losing engagement is also a real one. I have 3 kids to feed. I don't know when Dairyland is coming in. I don't know when XYZ is coming in. I need to make money this month, and it's up to me to now be out there creating content, creating those likes. So it's really difficult. It's a very difficult space to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right.
Yeah, yo. I feel for you. Yeah, I think I speak from a point of privilege because, so for the longest time I've been single. Like, I've been a single guy. And at that time I didn't really appreciate the value of time because I'd do Sunday drives and that was enough for me. Then during the week I just crunch. Like, I'm just anything and everything. Morning routine every day without fail. I'm like, it's 10 a.m. I haven't done it. Oh my God. It's 10:01. People will even write to me on my DM. They're like, Vic Karanja Amka. Like, wake up. You've slept too much today. I'm like, yes, I've slept too much. So I have to do this every time. But I think in the past couple of months, I think this is when now I've really realized how bad it has been in terms of me constantly, like even coming up here. I think I told my partner or girlfriend or whatever to record me when I walk. And I was like, even when I was just recording. So, but I realized like the intensity it comes with and the balance I need to create, that some things need to be kept private, and then I don't need to be constantly on. I'm still working on it, I promise. But I think the allure of it is that I enjoy creating content a lot. And I think maybe it's because of the photography background and the creation background. So for me, like when I see the moon, I'm like, for a lot of guys will be like, wow, nice moon, then continue. In my head, I'm like, wow, let me freeze this moment and capture it. And even if I won't share it with anyone, I'll just keep it in my phone. That is satisfying for me. So I think now maybe I need to work on the boundaries as well, even as I think we when you have family, it's more pronounced. But I think, I need to.
Yeah, and in this case, your family is you.
Yeah.
You.
And we have fun creating and working.
Yeah,
so I'm like, let's do this.
Victor outside of the space, and you do have your partner, and
Yeah, no, but I think it's
Baby
very
steps.
it's because as she said, like the content is it integrates into lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I'm not curating a lot of the things. It's like I went to the gym, of course I did. So it just may just place the camera over there. That doesn't hurt anyone. And so it's just so you never know what the divide is.
Right. Moses.
For me, I think it's very easy because my wife is very private. In fact, if you go to my social media, I probably come across as a single guy, simply because there is nothing. My kids don't exist online. My wife, you don't know who she is.
Yeah.
She's not even using my surname online. You know what I mean? Like, it's literally we don't exist. So the separation is very easy. And we just when we got married, we just had a conscious decision because I think the day we went for lunch somewhere and we're having a meal, and I was in a nice, beautiful restaurant, Italian, and posted online. And then somebody posted on Facebook or DM me, said, Moses, so you want to get robbed, eh? That point of, you're telling people that you're right now in this restaurant. And then the other thing she said to me was like, so are you also trying to make people maybe hate you because you're showing these moments of living the high life that might have negative repercussions with anyone who just has an issue, So I just got very conscious about that at some point. But for me, there's no off switch. I'm sorry to say this, but I'm very fortunate in the sense that what he said, that it's kind of like the work I do as a hobby is almost like the work I do as my day job. I run an agency, I create content, they work together. Yeah, and I've been very fortunate that actually a lot of business that comes to the agency is because of the work I do through my content, and vice versa. So it's kind of interesting from that point of view, and that's what I'm trying to say. When some guys are going out and getting smashed on a Friday night, I'm sitting there thinking about, man, I need to create some content. I want to create some sexy content, And it just reminds me, the other day I was in Naivasha or Nanyuki. I've been traveling a lot, but I was in Nanyuki, and I think I saw a couple of bottles of is it Java? Java is no longer using Heinz, they're now using my cuisine.
Yes.
And I just took a little picture, you know, like a little 5-minute moment, like, hey, check this out. These guys now use my cuisine. It's no longer Heinz, but it's Tabasco. Now, the Tabasco is like, I love the Tabasco. Can you really replace Tabasco? And then I asked guys, like, what do you think? Man, that thing blew up.
I saw that. I saw it.
And then guys were writing to me on LinkedIn. The marketing manager of my cuisine was there. The head of the company was there. And I'm like, this little 2-3 minute piece of content that was just a casual, as we're having breakfast before we went to the shoot with our client, suddenly was my best content of the week. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, I can't have an off switch, but I always have to know what's private and what's public. And then, you know, it's also not healthy to just constantly be online when you have a family and kids and all to attend to, right? So, yeah.
So we're all learning. It's a really is a journey.
Yeah.
Milan, I'm wondering if I'd still like for you to chime into the conversation, because you're, again, from the perspective of people who we could say for the purpose of this conversation are making content on for you. I know that you still have to find a balance in your life as well. And we hope you're able to look out for those that you're working with so that they can have a balance as well. What do you think about that?
I think maybe I cannot relate 100% because just like Victor, I don't have a family per se, so it's not like I'm distracted by...
Do you want one? I'm kidding. I'm joking.
There are any takers?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, go ahead.
So just like Victor, I don't have much, like, you know, there are no kids to hide or a husband to hide, you know, there's nothing much. But I think back to what you asked me, again, I'm big on empathy because of all the things I went through with agency. So even when I'm managing my team, I really want to draw a place where they are happy to work under me, and I try to create a work-life balance for them to be able to have respectable boundaries between when we are doing our work, which is holistically back to back, and when they go home and have time with their families because they have families. But for me, I don't think I'm the right one to answer this question because after work
I think
just
she
do
needs to improve her work-life balance. The other day she delivered ice cream at 9 p.m. Is it 10?
Where, to you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
For a campaign.
I drove to his
like,
house.
yo.
I was like, we are late. Bring that ice cream. I'm going to his house myself.
Okay, wow. Hey, all right. So I've really enjoyed this conversation. Unfortunately, we are bound by time. So we'll open up for just 3 questions from the audience. And 1, 2, I've seen 2 hands come up. I'll come to you first. 3. Okay.
I am a journalist, but now a digital marketer. So I'm a micro-influencer. And mine is not a question. Mine is just to add on to what all of you have said. So I'm not a big influencer, but I have impact. And I loved what Milan said. And I feel like a lot of brands, since you're all here, a lot of brands, you know, I have 15,000 followers, but today if I do an event, so I'm taking marketing, not only digital. Everyone used to say, we want to meet you, Aisha. So I said, I can't meet everyone for coffee. Like, I'm nice, but boundaries. So I was like, you know what? Let's meet at Karura. I'm charging 1,000 shillings. I had over 150 people say, listen, we're coming to the event. Right now, tomorrow I have a grand iftar celebrating women. I have 100 sign-ups in, and I'm charging 4,000 in 6 days. And I get, you know, before I reached here, I used to send proposals to brands, and it's like, who are you, you know? And then you see people in the brand campaigns who are big influencers, and you're asking yourself, nitafika hapo siku gani? And I decided through my events to show the brands and myself. I have a vision for myself. So my name is Aisha Khan, but my hashtag is you can, because people can't say Khan, it's can, okay? Hashtag you can. And I realized through doing this how much power there is. It's not in popularity, it is in community. So I believe in the Muslim community. I've only been an influencer for 2 years. I was on TV as a journalist, and I decided to quit my job. I wasn't happy. But through influencing, I'm able to create content. And again, on brand freedom. So I'm just saying like what they've said, and as an influencer, as a micro-influencer, I believe that there's so much power in the internet. The time brands shift their mindset to think, yes, you need the big influencer, but you also need the micro-influencer. Like, you can have 3 micro-influencers and maybe 7 big influencers, because you all need us. So I just wanted to say that there's so much power in impact. Stop looking at the numbers. And you can see someone commenting 1,000,001 things, but they never buy anything. I've worked with brands, And when we go check, we have 50 plus women who have bought. Why? Because of community and impact. It doesn't matter the numbers. So I just wanted to say this, and thank you so much, Verge, for this opportunity, for me being here, because I feel so hard today, like from everyone, and also from Milan. Milan, I want to work with Dairyland. I'm going to follow you. But what I want to say is, yeah, you need to shoot your shot. So Milan, I just want to say, like, I'm so happy to see someone running a brand and thinking like you, because I'm sorry to say, well, the conversations we have behind the scenes are just, I don't know, there's no understanding. I think you should start a course, like, to educate, people who are running brands, because, man, you've cracked the code. Whether I work with you or not, but I just feel so happy today, honestly. Like, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that shot has successfully been shot. Yeah. Thank you. The second hand was back there. Yes.
Okay, hi. So my name is Martin, and I'd like to say in front of me I'm seeing 4 very beautiful human beings with very vulnerable stories and a lot to share. But I've had the privilege to meet you in person and hear those stories come from your end. But people that interact with you online see you as this monolith of just churning out content every so often for their entertainment. And we've seen how ruthless Kenyans can be with, one day they love you and they're propping you up on the other end. Next day they're stepping on you, they're insulting you, and maybe in a week or so you'll be back. So my question would be, from that perspective, is there some sort of fear that maybe one day that comes to you? Is there anything you kind of do about it? Do you just stick true to yourself and have your integrity as an anchor? And how do you navigate the space knowing that, the people that you're making content for are a very volatile group? And how does that affect you mentally as well?
I've had my fair share of those. I think initially, at the beginning, I would get really upset. You're just starting to learn the space. So somebody telling you something, like, it makes you feel bad, because not only as a creative, like, it's you they're attacking. Like, if you're an accountant, you have a formula to follow. So, you're doing your 9 to 5, you have your formula. I don't think there's, like, when they're attacking, like, the formula, it's not you. So I think that's been really it's been really hard initially. And I think also just hearing some of the things that people have had to say, you really wonder how on earth they even come to those conclusions. And me personally, I could never even imagine writing something negative on somebody's page just for the sake of, I want them to feel hurt. Who are you? Even that's why when that question came up on the thing of, like, have you hired people to talk negatively or whatever, I'm like, who would do that? Why would you do that? So yeah, I've had my fair share. Initially, it really used to bug me, especially when it's something I'm personally insecure about. So if it's something like, I don't know, maybe I'm insecure about my smile and somebody is like, hey, your smile is, I don't know, then it really hurts me, because I'm like, damn, yeah, I know, I knew it. But I've learned to let it go. I've learned that a lot of what people say is a projection of their insecurities, of their own insecurities. So a lot of times somebody might say something about my parenting style, and it really just seems like a you problem. And I've learned to rise above that. There will be times that I do speak on some of the things I get, not as a point of I must show people you are saying XYZ, but as a point of this is what I've learned from people who say XYZ, and more of a learning moment that I'd like to share with people. So you really have to develop a thick skin if you're going to be on social media. I think a lot of therapy also helps, because there are times you think you got it, but then it'll just hit you. Somebody will say something, you're like, damn, okay, I need to go back to therapy for that. But yeah, you really need to have a thick skin. You can't let it bother you. It's a them problem. It's whatever they're going through internally that they're projecting on you. That's what I've learned.
Can I comment? I've had those moments, like it can be terrible, meaning that, I know one instance, for instance, like a competitor, somebody who saw me as a competitor in that space, and they went and posted some stuff online. There was a big engagement I was potentially going to get hired to do, and they turned their laptop around on the table and said, Moses, what's this about? You can imagine somebody's gone and written this thing with very sensitive personal information. I think it was a former colleague somewhere. And it happens. But what I've come to understand, and I've also read a lot about this stuff online as well, is quite often the kind of mindset you need to take in is that person is the one with the problem, not you. Meaning that, if anything, you should pity them, or you should feel empathy for them, because they're probably the one in a bad place, and this is their way of kind of lashing out and hitting out, and like somebody once said, social media never changed us, it just amplified who we really are, right? We never had the tools to really show who we are, so people are just really showing their true selves. And the thing is, then you got to say, like, also if you're eliciting that level of hate, then usually it suggests that you're actually on the right path. Yeah, meaning that if anything, it should be fuel for you to keep going. But it's just about shifting your perspective and then being able to then use that as almost the fire to keep you going. That means if you're eliciting that reaction, it means that you're actually doing a good job. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just to add to that, I think, and I agree with all that, and I think the moments that I've had such moments, I think there's a time I had a highlight for like a week. That was the longest week. Even like my boss at work was like, "Are you okay? Do you need to take some time off?" And like, I think that's when I understood the gravity of that kind of situation. But I think nowadays I'm very protective of my energy. I don't go to seek out for it, because I know sometimes people will write things. So I'm not curious to go and be like, what did they say? Like, I don't care about that. And then the other thing is, I think the most important thing was building a very respectful community. So in terms of how we engage and how we talk to each other, even in those times where people outside are talking about weird things and all those things, they don't bring it back to me, which is something that I've really respected about the community that I have. So we'll never see any hate on my platforms, and if there's feedback, it's mostly constructive. Like, we'll actually talk about it and be like, oh, actually it makes sense, so let me actually change this and change that. But I think, yeah, that's the biggest thing, like protecting your energy and then creating a very respectful community has really helped.
Yeah. Can I just add something there? I remember once happened to me, and it was funny because what happened is the community hammered that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was shocking. Like, you guys, what are you talking about? I was just impressed. Like, I just shut up and they did the work, So that also happens as well. Yeah.
And also engaging those people. So I've seen, especially on TikTok, is the one that is very wild. Like, because I don't think I've built a community there. So they're like, who's this Karanja guy? Okay, so let's say whatever we want. So what I've also seen that really works out with those kind of comments is I actually reply to them. And I'm not nasty to them or anything. I actually either agree in a funny way, or I'm like tell me, like, it's like a funny comment too. And then you see them now coming back down, and then they're talking to you now. So I think most of the times, most guys do it to get attention and to be seen. And sometimes I'm like, let me tap into that psychological need that they have. Let me make them feel seen.
Yeah, give them what they asked for. Yeah. All right, this has been an amazing conversation. I wish we had more time, honestly, because I think we could go on. Ivory, I know you had a question to ask, but I have been overruled in that. But they are here.
It's only because I love you.
Okay, and I love you too. I do. You still have space on my Oscar acceptance speech because you asked first. So thank you for understanding. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have enjoyed this conversation. Please, let's give it up one more time for Moses, Tatiana, Milan, and Victor. Thank you very much. You may have your seats, and I now hand over back to Sed. Thank you, Sed.